As I mentioned in the introduction for this section, use case descriptions are not really fully fledged UML diagrams, but rather they're a way to naturally transition from use case diagrams into activity diagrams. This is what they look like when they're not completed. As you can see, it's just a blank table, and the process of creating use case descriptions is just a matter of populating the fields with the relevant data to each use case. But crucially, the information that you include in your use case descriptions forms the basis of your activity diagrams. So let's quickly run through what you would normally expect to find in each field. The use case name should be fairly self-explanatory. It's just the name of the use case from the use case diagram. I always consider it best practice to also include the name of the system in this field too, because it makes things that much more identifiable. But you can leave the system name out if you want. Next up is a brief description, again very self-explanatory, just a sentence or two about the high-level goal of this use case. Actors is just a list of all of the actors who will be able to perform the action. You can basically just copy this across from your use case diagram directly. If multiple actors are able to perform the action, just make sure you list them all. Preconditions are all of the conditions that must be true in order for the action to take place. They are things that are checked at the start of the process. Some of these conditions will be very simplistic, such as the need to have a video available on your local computer in order to upload a video. Or they may be more abstract, like owning all of the required permissions in order to upload a video. They can also be other use cases, so you could imagine that this should probably also be a create account use case. And if that is the case, you would expect that there is a requirement that the user is signed into that account. That also demonstrates the benefit of creating use case descriptions. They help you ensure that your use case diagram includes all of the required use cases when you start to consider how the system works in practice. After the preconditions, we have the main flow. This is what happens if all of the preconditions are met. In this case, the main flow is just the upload of the file, but if you used includes or extends in your use case diagram, you would also need to refer to them here too. The alternate flows are next. This is where you detail what happens if any of the preconditions are not met, and the main flow was therefore not followed. This doesn't need to be anything overly complex, but you should avoid having no feedback to the user at all. Making your users guess what's wrong is one of the worst mistakes you can make from a user experience perspective. Finally, we have the post conditions, which is a description of the state of the system after the successful run through the main flow. Just like everything else, this doesn't need to go into a huge amount of detail. If more use cases become available as a result of the successful execution of this use case, they should be noted here. So in this simple YouTube example, the publish video use case would only become available after a video has been uploaded and is actually available to publish.